Hey guys, this is Miss Calkins coming to you from my garage for our first garage classroom lesson. What I wanted to do is just talk to you for a few minutes, and give you some verbal examples of some things that we are getting started with. You can also look on Canvas, on our Canvas page, because I have copies of these notes on Canvas, and that might be something that's more appealing to you than watching this video, but regardless, I wanted to be able to talk to you through some of this stuff. So we are starting a brand new unit with polynomials. I'm going to read through this definition with you, understanding that this is a complicated definition. It's probably not going to make a whole lot of sense to you. So underneath the definition, I have some examples of things that fall into the category of a polynomial and fall into the category of not polynomial, non-polynomials. So a polynomial in one variable, that means you're going to have all x's or all y's, is any function with a constant multiplied by a variable to a non-negative whole number power, or the sum or difference of those. Okay, so here's what this means. If you look on this side right here, I have three examples of functions that would classify as a polynomial. So a polynomial just means you've got many terms in there, okay? So f of x equals 2x to the fifth minus 3x to the fourth plus 6x to the third minus x squared. So here are some things that make these polynomials. All of your variables are x, you've got all the same variables, and all of their exponents are non-negative whole numbers. So that's why that would classify as a polynomial. The second one, f of x is 3x squared minus 7. So the exponent on this x is a 2, and this is actually, if you kind of put this little hidden x right here, you could say that is x to the 0, because x to the 0 is 1, and 7 times 1 is just 7. So that's why that doesn't have an actual x there. It's kind of there, but it doesn't have to write it there, so we don't need that. And then this is f of x is negative 5x, and of course the exponent on that x would be a positive 1, but we don't have to see that. So all of these would be examples of polynomials, okay? Now on this side, we have some examples of things that are not polynomials. This first one is not a polynomial because if you took this out of the square root and wrote it with an exponent, it would be x to the 1/2. That's not something you have to know for Math 1, but that doesn't fall in line with the whole number power. That doesn't have a whole number power. That would have a power of 1/2. You don't really need to get hung up on that. What you need to know is your x can't be in the square root or cube root or anything like that. If it has a square root or a cube root, it's not a polynomial, okay? Second thing is the x can't be in the denominator, because that would mean the exponent of that is negative 1. So you could also write that as 3x to the negative 1. And that does not fall into the whole number power category, so that's what makes that not polynomial. Easy way to think about that, the x can't be in the denominator. The last example of a non-polynomial is where the exponent is x. This is an exponential function that we talked about earlier this year. So basically what you need to remember for this one is x can't be the exponent. The exponent has to be a whole number power. So your exponent has to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 1. It can't be a half, it can't be negative, it can't be x itself. So those are some examples of non-polynomials. And again, these are all posted on Canvas. So if you wanted to take a look at the notes, you can. I'm going to step out for just a second. If you wanted to take a screenshot of that, so you would have that on your phone versus having to look at it on Canvas, you can do that. All right, so now what we're going to look at, are how we classify these polynomials. Sorry, my videographer's eyes just got really big. How to classify these polynomials. So there's two ways that we classify polynomials. The first way that we classify polynomials is by the degree. Now this looks really complicated. I promise that it's not. When I mean degree, that just means the highest exponent on that polynomial. So this was actually written as just the whole number 9. But what you can actually do is say, okay, since it doesn't have an x and an exponent, that x and exponent is actually 0 on the x. So the highest exponent that it has is 0, and we refer to that as a constant. Because what I can do is actually take that off, and a constant just means a plain number. So when you take that off, that just becomes a plain number. Okay, in this second one, your exponent on the x is a 1. So the highest exponent that we have is 1, and that is called linear. Now, if you go back and think of what linear means, it means y equals mx plus b. So that kind of falls into our linear category. All right, the next one we have, if you look at this next polynomial, f of x is equal to negative 4x squared plus 2x. The highest exponent we have on that polynomial is 2. So if your highest exponent is 2, the degree is 2, and that would be called a quadratic because the highest exponent is 2. If your highest exponent is 3, then the degree is 3, and that is called a cubic. In this next one, our highest exponent that we have is 4. The biggest exponent that we have is 4. So the degree is 4, and that is called a quartic. And then in this last two, your highest exponent is 5, and your highest exponent is 6. They don't have specialized names. They're just 5th degree, 6th degree. The next one will be 7th degree. So this is classifying it by the degree, and that just means you look for the biggest exponent on that polynomial. That becomes the degree number, and that name is assigned to it based on the biggest degree that it has. Okay. Over here, the second way you classify a polynomial is by how many terms that polynomial has. So if you remember, terms are separated by addition or subtraction. So in this first polynomial, we have f of x is x to the 7th. That's the only term in that polynomial. So since it has one term, it is called a monomial. The prefix mon means 1. In the second one, we have 2 terms, 1, 2. They're separated by that addition sign. If you have 2 terms, that's called a binomial. Bi means 2. In the third one, you have 3 terms, 1, 2, 3. They're separated by the addition and subtraction. If something has 3 terms, it is called a trinomial. And after that, if you have more than 3 terms, it's just called a polynomial. So in this one, it has 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. So anything that has 4 terms or more, we would call a polynomial. Now, these 5 examples are kind of like what your assignment for this is going to look like. So in your assignment that you'll see on Canvas, there's a link to it in instructions. You only have, I think, like 12 of these to do. No, I take that back. I think you just have 10. Anyway, you just have 10 of these to do. You're going to classify these first by the degree and then by the number of terms that we have. So for this one, the highest degree, or the degree of this, is going to be 3 because that's the biggest exponent. And so that makes this a cubic. And then it has 2 terms, so that makes this a cubic binomial. So that would be the classification for that polynomial, okay? The second one, also the highest exponent, or really the only exponent, is 3. So this would also be a cubic. So that's by the degree name. And now we're going to give it the term name. That's only one term. So that would be a cubic monomial. The next one, your highest exponent is 2, because this has an exponent of 1, and that would have an exponent of 0. So since that has an exponent of 2, that's going to be a quadratic. And that has 3 terms, so it's going to be trinomial. The next one, your highest exponent that you have is 7. So this is going to be a 7th degree, because remember, we don't have specialized degree names after 4. So that's going to be a 7th degree. There's 3 terms, and that would also be a trinomial. Okay, now this last one, this is not a polynomial at all because it's under the square root symbol. So this would be none. It does not have a polynomial name because it's not actually a polynomial. Your assignment that's on Canvas is going to look like this. You're going to have a PDF to look at, so you're going to need to look at the PDF. I would write my answers down on a piece of paper, and then there's going to be a place in Canvas where you can type your answers. When you type your answers in, type them all lowercase and put a space in between each name. So I would do cubic space binomial or cubic space monomial. Keep it all lowercase. Don't be afraid of how Canvas grades it, because I'm going to go in and grade it myself. I just need you to have some way to turn in your answers to me, and I think that might be the easiest way. So make sure that you join me tomorrow at 11 for Zoom. If you have questions or want to talk about this for a little bit, it's probably going to be a good idea maybe just to go ahead and look at the assignment before we Zoom, just so you know what kind of questions you'll have, okay? I will see you later. Thanks. Bye.